I've always been curious about how much of our life is, let's say, fate, or it's like a story that was already written, and how much we can influence this story.
Simulation. Are we created by God? Is it an ascension realm? Is it some other thing? Are we a random mistake? Were your grandparents fishing monkeys and you're on a giant space ball? And every one of these, as we were saying before, in the highest level story, will change how you impact everything.
If we look at it, for example, from a classical Buddhist perspective or mindfulness perspective, we would say it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. Your additional suffering is because you have an attachment to feeling good. And from that place, you don't like that you're feeling bad. So now you want to spin around, figure out why you're not feeling good so that you can make it good. And that's adding actually suffering.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We are back. Before we clicked record, we were talking about how we're going to do this, like the format of this podcast. Are we going to do freestyle? Are we going to have some topics that we can share before and then talk about them? And my intention is to have these calls as close as we can to the conversations we have when the cameras are off, when there's no recording. Because that's the reason, one of the reasons why I wanted us to have this in the first place. I think we talk about so many cool things, and people can feel inspired and get some golden nuggets from our conversations. And yeah, this is still open for discussions with you guys as well. I'm not fixed on this. Maybe when we have a guest, we can also talk about a particular topic. But yeah, for now, let's go with freestyle. What do you think?
Sure, let's go. What's on your mind today, Alex?
My mood today was a little bit like this. I had some interviews. I'm opening a retreat center in Bali, and I had interviews with people that are joining. And I was also feeling a little bit meh. Maybe from that vibe from some people, maybe my own stuff came up. And I wanted us to talk about what to do when you feel meh. Not what to do, what do you do?
Maybe you could define meh, because it's a word you use often.
I know, yeah. I tend to say meh quite a lot when I'm not feeling my best. And meh describes a feeling of maybe low energy, like I don't feel so much power. I don't feel so creative. I feel like I'm lazy. I feel like I don't want to maybe talk to people. I feel like I'm withdrawing in a way, and I don't feel centered and connected. I feel more of a tension, and it's not a happy joy feeling. It's more of a meh feeling. So when first of all, do you guys believe is it possible for a human to not experience this? It's just a belief, I guess. If you believe it's possible to have a human experience without feeling meh.
I'm sure it's probably possible, but I think most people, you take some, again, because it happens from any number of things. That's what I usually like to do with these things, is reverse engineer what's actually going on. Because sometimes it can be just bad sleep and you feel a little meh. Sometimes you're on a great flow. Like, I think a lot of us had this. You're on a great flow. You do something really well. And once you've done something really well, you suddenly say, I could do 10 other things even better. And you take on way too many projects, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you get frustrated, and then you feel, and that puts you into like a reflective mode. And then we start to think, what's up? And at that point, you might say, oh, I just took on way too much and I overestimated what my capabilities are for what I like to do. So I'll get rid of these projects. Other times, as I say, like this during the summer, I generally have bad sleep in August. I'm, again, being Irish, my ideal temperature is like 15 degrees probably, but it's like 32, 34, 35. And I just find that my body doesn't recharge the same way. I need cold to really recharge. So my energy is lower in the summer and I don't really plan to do a lot of things in that. So sometimes when you notice a natural cycle, you can not beat yourself up about it because it actually is a natural cycle. Another time it could happen is we eat badly or something, but whenever we stop and take time to figure out like what's the meh feeling coming from, which I don't think is a bad thing, is that we're tired, we're eating badly, we're overworked, we get too many thoughts in our mind, we're worried about something, and then from that stage start to figure out what the solution would be from there. And I think that's only then can you start to make a clear assessment of what would actually help in that case. So, I don't know if that resonates with you, Mateo.
I have a follow-up question before Mateo answers. I'm confused about this Arian and Arian.
Nobody's name the podcast name doesn't make any sense. The names we have doesn't make any sense. The nameless people, whatever. The Many-Faced Podcast. Come on, you're a Game of Thrones fan, right?
My question was how much of this from what I'm hearing you, I'm also hearing stories. I'm hearing concepts. How much of this is it the T with the capital T, the truth, or how much is it stories that you are willing to accept as true so that you feel better about your circumstance, about how you are doing? The stuff about the cold, the stuff about the heat, about anything from how I'm hearing it is a story that we choose to believe. It's like an excuse, you know. You can say it, but then it's like I don't know, man. It may be like this, or maybe I'm just saying this to make myself feel better about this.
Yeah, could be. And this thing, again, you can look at it in other ways. Like there's, again, where it could be a story is maybe the accepting of the problem rather than changing the environment, because we do have good AC in the house and other things, but maybe we could have re-engineered the house differently. But our daughter, she sleeps in the bed with us. She flips all around. Like she likes the cold more than I do, and she flips all night, kicks me constantly, other things. So it wakes me up and I don't get good sleep. So, but I know for me, bad sleep impacts my feeling of well-being. It just, so far. And again, that can be a story. Maybe you don't need that much sleep, but I found consistently if I have better sleep, my brain sharper, I feel better, I work out better, I like want to eat better. And I think, yeah, again, which ones are stories? I think there's always a fix to it. Our fix that we have been thinking about is go away in the summer months from Spain. So I think there are fixes. The accepting of it is probably the story, is what you were saying. So you accept the problem. Whereas like the convenience of just staying where we are because we like it probably overrid the caring for the solution. But I think ideally we'd probably go to Ireland or Iceland or somewhere else in these 4 months and then have that time, because the rest of the 9 months, 10 months of the year here is paradise. So I find just my energy is great. I'm feeling good, but I struggle with summer in a bit. So I can fix it for sure. I didn't probably take the steps to fix it. I think that's the thing. So I think that's something to look at. What's the trade-off? Did you find out what's changing your state these days?
Centeredness, and by that I mean going back to stillness. And for me, usually it's meditation, but this doesn't exclude all the other things that I'm doing. Like I found out that quite recently, a few months ago, that vitamin D supplementation is very good. And besides me staying in the sun, when I can't do that, I just take like an overdose. I'm taking 5,000. I don't know what the measurements is, but it says 5,000 on the bottle.
IU.
Yeah, that thing. And so working out, like you mentioned, the sleep, all these things. But then I don't know. I mean, this is like a foundation. This is like the basics. But then I also think, is there a reason why I'm feeling this? Like maybe I'm feeling this so I can reflect on my situation, and maybe where I'm heading or what I'm doing now is not really what serves me best, what I am. I don't know if the wording is supposed to do, but like what I'm here to do, and in a sense. So I also do something that I know is bad, but I go on YouTube and I start looking at videos about how to solve the problem, how to keep myself motivated, and then I go to a podcast. Then I listen to some completely different topic, and 4 hours later I'm still on YouTube consuming content, and that raises my dopamine levels and my state a little bit, but then I feel guilty and kind of shame for wasting so much time on the YouTube in the first place.
Yeah, but I think the most thing with all of these things is identifying the problem. Again, what I feel in my situation, the heat is what's really bothering me. In your situation, sounds like there's other stuff on your mind, or you're deciding about path. And because here's the one thing that I realized a long time ago is sometimes we fight what we think is an internal problem, but it really is an external issue. Like I remember Brigitte came to me one day and she had like a real pain in her shoulder. And she was like, what does that mean? We read the Louise Hay stuff and you're like, okay, the shoulder means this in life and all these things. But then I was like, I noticed when she was in her office, she sits like this. And she, like, if anyone doesn't know, if anyone's just listening, it's resting on your elbow while you're leaning on it and putting weight on it. You do that for 2-3 days, you're going to have pain up in your shoulder. So just put the arms away, lift them up, don't put your hands like that, and the problem goes away. So sometimes we can drive ourselves crazy trying to over-assess some deep spiritual meaning because of this thing, but sometimes it's just, you're just wearing the wrong shoes when you're walking around the house, you're leaning wrong, or maybe you ate something last night that was full of chemicals you didn't know it was, and now you feel depressed for 3 days. Like even we made semifreddos. We try to make homemade everything. So it was this thing called semifreddos. It's basically raw egg, cream, and honey, and then you freeze it, and it's incredible. It tastes amazing. As soon as I tasted it, I was like, oh my god, this is mind blowing. I don't eat ice cream or any of these things. But what I didn't realize is it spikes the blood too fast, and I ate quite a lot over like 4 days, and then it made me feel depressed for like 3-4 days. And I was wondering why I was feeling bad, but I realized because those had made me raise and crash my energy, I started to feel like shit. And once I'd stopped eating them for a few days, suddenly I felt normal again. So I noticed sometimes you just have one simple thing externally that we drive ourselves crazy about and beat our head off the wall and then try to find the deep inner meaning when it's just a simple solution. Can I give you one more example of this, actually, of that really hammered this point for me? And I think this can save people years of like therapy and beating themselves up for things. Is like the place I went to get my haircut. It was like the best place in Marbella. I think, Alex, maybe you got your haircut when you were here. It was a barber shop, and it's one place that looks pretty cool and it's really nice, and the guys are all trendy and cool. And whenever you go in there, it's a nice service, and they're straight away, they come over and be like, hey, would you like some coffee? And I'm like, sure, I'd like some coffee. And I'm just sitting there drinking the coffee, and the guy that was cutting my hair, he was saying, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be here much longer. I just feel really like stressed and anxious all the time. I feel like there's real darkness coming. I just like, I think I need therapy and all these things. And I was like, oh shit, that's intense. Like, you're telling me this is the first time I'm coming here to get my haircut? And he gets into this, like how he just feel like he's feeling like he can't handle life anymore, and he feels like panic attacks and all these things. And I was like, wow, and I was just like, I wasn't really I was just there for a haircut, so I didn't really get into it much with him. Just let him do his thing. But I was just drinking the coffee. So he finished up drinking the coffee. As I was leaving the place, I started getting the panic attacks. Like these heart palpitations, like, boo, 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 boo. And I was like, holy shit. And I felt like this darkness feeling. It was from the coffee. The coffee that they were serving in that place was like some weird shit in it that caused like this weird stressor factor. And I felt what he was talking about for that day. And it was just like, after that, I was like, I'm not drinking coffee anymore. Even the ones I did drink, because I had a specific type of coffee that I liked, didn't give me that. But that one caused me that reaction. And I know a lot of people have heart palpitations and stress all the time, and they just drink coffee. You let go of it, and it goes away. So I just want, like, if anyone's listening to this, sometimes when you just let go of a certain thing, the problem actually goes away, and you don't need deeper work. But then there's the other thing. Sometimes we're going down the wrong path in life, and that's so much deeper work. That's where our expert in the call, Mateo, comes in. Probably. That's how Alex and you met, I guess. You wrote the book, The Mind Made Prison. If anyone doesn't know Mateo, great book, by the way.
You're setting me up for an empowering and inspirational thing, and I'm going down a totally different path. So it's going to be a nice,
go for it.
interesting.
Wherever you want to go, then.
look, I like what both of you are saying, and I don't think that it's, I think sometimes we can also be too challenging with, is it just a story? For me, suffering is a fact of life. And, it was, the Buddha had Four Noble Truths. The first one was life is suffering. And he's pointing to the fact that everything is impermanent. So even if you have the best kind of life, you are going to get sick at some point if you're lucky to get old enough, and you will die. And let's say even you somehow manage to live, become immortal through technology, and you just live in bliss. At some point, you're going to be bored by that. So there's always going to be suffering regardless. But he had this very cool concept of the first arrow and the second arrow. So the first arrow is you have an accident, or someone throws shit at you or says something, or you have challenges in life, or it's too hot at night. That does have an impact on us, right? And Arian was touching on this. But what we can control is the second arrow. That's how we respond to the impact that's happening to us. So on that level, we can have equanimity to these challenges, to the impermanence of life that affects our nervous system. Our nervous system is, it's not like it's not like an immortal being, so we get affected. So we can relate to that with equanimity. That's the first state of kind of enlightened consciousness, let's say. And then the third stage, which would be more complete, is integrated enlightened consciousness, where I have equanimity and I am actually doing the good stuff that, Arian was touching on this. I can change my life, or I can do good things like take vitamin D, or not be on YouTube for 4 hours, etc. But it's still coming from that place of equanimity instead of the shame, the guilt, which is all second arrow stuff. You don't have equanimity when you're in shame and guilt. So, I think it's good to not. A lot of the people I've worked with and I've seen, they seem to have like a bad feeling about the first arrow. So normal shit happens in life and you feel bad. And as you said, Alex, many times we don't even know what the hell it is. Our mind cannot conceptualize why, because we're not separate entities. Maybe your mom is feeling bad and you're picking up on her energy even though you haven't spoken. Maybe stuff is happening in the culture and the country that you live in. We get affected by all this on levels that we cannot even conceptualize. Maybe the food I eat has pesticides and I didn't know. So the equanimity piece helps a lot with that, and not blaming ourselves for feeling bad or having a down period. It's normal. It's an impermanent nervous system. It's imperfect. I don't think the nervous system is designed to feel good all the time, but luckily we have a transcendental state where we have choice on how we relate to that. And then from that equanimity, we can make better choices, more skillful choices.
Do you think the solution is to be more in that equanimity state?
Yeah, I think the equanimity, the only thing it does is it doesn't add suffering to your suffering, right? So at least we neutralize the extra suffering. So it's not like a magic pill. It's like, fuck, I'm hurting. I'm suffering, man. Let me not just make it worse by like spinning around in my thoughts trying to fix it. And then the mature step from there would be, okay, there is suffering. It's unavoidable. I'm not reacting to it. But how can I skillfully respond to this? How can I make changes that need to be made, or help others, or change my state into a better one?
Isn't this also a concept? The suffering.
Well, everything.
The story of something that is permanent.
I had a Buddhist teacher, and I presented an idea like this to him once, and he gave me a very good example. Okay, I said, well, isn't this also a concept? Because he was like, you got to meditate in the right way. And I was like, well, that's a concept. What's right and wrong? And he told me, all right, I'll put 2 cakes in front of you. One is made of chocolate. The other is made of shit. Which one are you going to eat? So that cut through the idea that not everything is a concept, So no, I think we can get caught in the concept of everything is a concept, but no, certainly everything is not a concept. If an animal really suffers when we kill it to eat it, that's not a concept, right? That's real suffering. It's real pain, just as we suffer when we go through dark times. The concepts can add to our suffering, but suffering is real, man.
Mm. I think we touched on this before, and it's also about semantics and about the words we use. And maybe I have a negative connotation in my mind about the word suffering, but maybe you're referring to just pain.
Um, Look, it's hard to I think it's hard to conceptualize around what suffering is, but I think we all intuitively know what it is, right? That's why we intuitively know to be good to others. We all know what suffering is in our heart of hearts. Is that feeling, whether you describe it as being trapped in yourself or you just feel stuck or dead. We all know what it is. It's hard to describe it, but it's like this state of agitation and restlessness and fuck, I don't like it and I want to get out of it. And you see, we all know what it is, which is why we try to be good to each other, hopefully.
Do you think it's possible to have the human experience without suffering?
Yeah, I think it's possible to have a life without the second arrow, but you cannot avoid the first arrow. You know, even when I study text of these masters that I look up to in some ways, and they also describe back pain. Like there's plenty of stories about the Buddha hurting because he has back pain and stuff, and it's affecting him, right? But so that's the point. Life is impermanent, so you cannot avoid that level of suffering. Is their idea, but you can avoid the suffering of reacting to that suffering.
What's the difference? I mean, for Buddha, when he was, let's say, hurting his back and he was feeling that suffering, wasn't he just reacting to some sensors in his body, and he maybe with his supreme equanimity can say, I feel the pain, but I will not react it, and I will not feel it as pain. I will go beyond what the sensors in my body are telling me, and as an enlightened being, I will just dismiss this and feel as happy as I was before.
Yeah, so you mean he might be full of shit, or what's the challenge?
I mean, what is this first arrow, second arrow? I don't understand. Why is there a separation from this? And how can we? How are you dealing with it?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
not.
I
Yeah.
think I think the separation is incredibly important for a high quality of life. And a very practical example is I'm driving my car, someone drives in front of me very harshly, and my nervous system reacts by tightening, right? That's the first arrow. My nervous system reacts by going into survival mode. Now, the second arrow is I can decide to conceptualize that this guy is an asshole and he's going against me. He doesn't care about people. And then I'm going to generate tremendous rage in my system, stress hormones, etc. And I'm going to really have extra suffering. Or in that moment, I can simply notice that my nervous system went into fight flight. I can notice the stories that want to generate and just don't react to it. And then that's going to make a huge difference to my life and to that guy's life. So that's the
I,
practical.
I like this example. It's very good for when you know where the stressor is coming from. But what about in my situation today, where I'm feeling a little bit like meh, but I don't know exactly where it's coming from. Was it from the first call? Was it from the something that happened at the gym? What's it like? What about then when you don't know the source of this?
Well, I think there's so many ways of looking at it. Arian touched a little bit on it, but if we look at it, for example, from a classical Buddhist perspective or mindfulness perspective, we would say it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. Your additional suffering is because you have an attachment to feeling good. And from that place, you don't like that you're feeling bad. So now you want to spin around, figure out why you're not feeling good so that you can make it good. And that's adding actually suffering. Whereas if you can see shit, I have an attachment to feeling good, that would be actually starting to enter equanimity. And we're not saying that you should just accept that you feel bad, but the first stage is equanimity. From there, you can then be skillful.
Okay. Um, I've always been curious about how much of our life is, let's say, fate, or it's like a story that was already written, and how much we can influence. this story with our minds, with our thoughts, with our actions, with our words, all of it. What do you guys think about this? How much are we creator? How much of this is just a backwards simulation, and we can't control shit?
Yeah, I think it's 100%. I like, as much as I tried not to, I'm destined to be rich, successful, healthy, joyful. And I just can't get off the track. I don't know what's going. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm just messing with you. But that would be an interesting belief, actually. If it was like you're predestined to be in like your fate was dragging you to an upward spiral. I just thought of that, just as you were saying that, but that's not what I'm thinking. But generally, I think it is quite an unwritten thing. I think there's like an internal guidance system. I'm big into that. I don't know. I've never been into a big fate where it's like a predetermined. It's like, but I think there is like a guidance system, almost is like a train track that you can tap into. And if you want to go along with that, you can. But if you don't want to, you can also not go on the train tracks and you can battle through yourself in a way. But I feel like it depends how many people want to follow that guidance, and it all keeps rewriting as we go. I think we're all just like, we all have our own internal creation systems, but it's impacted by everyone else's creation systems at the same time. So that's probably what I would think about that. Where it's still like the story's only fun if it is unfolding as we're going. If it's just pre-written, like, what are we doing then? So, and it doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean that is the case, but I just feel it doesn't make sense if it is just like a pre-written and we're just reliving like the body. We're just a brain inside a body that's doing its thing. It wouldn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I would say, I think this is where our concepts cannot really, our dualistic mind, which always splits things into black and white, has a hard time keeping up, because for me, both can coexist. And that's what I feel experientially. It feels like there is some kind of pre-written destiny or theme or whatever. And it also feels like there is, let's say, at least the illusion of choice, the illusion of it, at least on some level, right? And it feels like, yes, I can make choices that are more compassionate or destructive or whatever, but there is a predetermined path, and I cannot move too far away from that. So the example I use is like, I am not doing meth in some alley somewhere right now, and it's just not a possibility karmically. That's why I'm not doing it, right? Whereas I could steer off a little bit of this path that I'm on, but there are certain outcomes that just seem not possible for this life, where for other life themes it could be possible. So I think it's a mixture of both, and impossible to know, really. Sometimes I feel like I'm just watching the simulation. Sometimes I'm more like, oh, I'm choosing empowered choices. It's like a mix. What do you think, Alex?
I watched a video today about a guy that says this is for sure a simulation, and the idea that this is a simulation will give you a lot of ease of mind, and it will just make you see things differently. And this belief is like, it's okay, man. You're here to enjoy it. Don't worry about so many things. Enjoy your existence here in this simulation. And yeah, I thought initially a few years ago that for sure this is about free will, and I can do whatever I want. And look at me going on this adventure and doing this and jumping from planes and all that stuff. And I think it's also something that Jesse was touching on the last episode, when he was saying that there's also a way for multiple realities to coexist, and kind of something that is beyond our processing like mind, is that any action or any choice goes into this multiverse of we are choosing something in this universe, but in another universe we just chose something else. And every split action is just like an infinite amount of universes where just different things happen. And yeah, I also believe similarly that we're kind of steering from one universe possibility to another. And I also think I also try to understand the why. Why this is going on, and maybe this is a simulation to try to find an answer for something, for to maybe we screwed up somewhere sometime in the future, and now we're trying to get back and maybe find a different way. And only by having this kind of simulation, we're able to find the answer. Um, and yeah, of course, within the walls of the simulation, there is kind of choice, because this is the intent of the simulation. Like, let's give them some wiggle room so they can choose things, and we'll see where it goes. We're looking for an answer to whatever the question is. Save humanity, um, beat Davido at karting, or something else.
Impossible. You shall never beat me. Every single time, I shall win. Even if I had a flat tire, still winning. But on the point you were saying as well, I think that sometimes it can be the challenge of our generation is like, we have a lot of time to think. Like, it seems like we have a lot of time. We can end up driving ourselves crazy thinking about, again, simulation. Are we created by God? Is it an ascension realm? Is it some other thing? Are we a random mistake? Were your grandparents fishing monkeys and you're on a giant space ball? And every one of these, as we were saying before, in the highest level story, will change how you impact everything. Whether you think we're just here to have fun, that will give you a very different life than if you're like hardcore biblical and you're like word for word the Bible. Like, and it's exponential, the difference of your life and what you think about your experience every single day. Here's a game I've been playing recently, because I think I flopped through quite a few different frames, and I noticed the change in that. I was wondering, can you weave the narrow path and find a way of life that would be the same no matter all the stories? So it's like, at some point, I think before, I thought, like, whenever I was a kid, I used to eat so many candies, so much junk food, like all the time, sugar, I just couldn't get enough of it. I never really thought the day would come when I just found these things disgusting. But I think when I clean stuff up inside of me, I just see them as poison now. Anything like this, fast food or any of these things, I just see it as poison. So the thought of like letting go of that in my life, whenever I feel like cleaned that up, suddenly there's a certain amount of things when I let go of toxic thoughts, when I'm not programmed by the movies, when I'm not programmed by all the things externally, I stopped watching movies and listening to music with lyrics and all these things so I could have my own experience. So I stopped adopting everyone else's version of the world, because Netflix and all these things, they program you for all these different weird scenarios. But if you think, let's say I have infinite possibilities and infinite realm, if this is a biblical world, if this is a simulation, that doesn't really matter anyway. If we were up in a cloud and we just thought, hey, this would be a fun game to play. Can you find a life that would work in every single one of these scenarios? And it would be the same life. And I started to really play this game and try to find out, can I weave the narrow path of like, some things, was it just I'm addicted to things, that's why I didn't want to let go of things. But once I realized you can break those addictions, you find out there's a certain things that just make you feel good generally, and your life improves. And no matter what the scenario, like, because think, if you're like, I see a lot of biblical people and they're like, I'm just here to sacrifice for God, waiting for death, and I follow the path, and then I get into heaven, I get to do good stuff in heaven. But can you live the good life, the moral life that also makes your life better? In a way, like for me, it's like now family, it brings me more joy than anything else, where I feel that is the godly path, as well as if it's a simulation, it's still better to have family. If like all these things, even taking the responsibility as a man, having a responsibility and providing for a family or multiple families, that brings me more joy than I ever got from just fucking around.
What do you mean by by choosing something else than the narrow path?
Sorry, what do you mean? The question?
Yeah, what do you mean by choosing? Like, if you choose different things, you're still living the same life.
Yeah, if you change your highest level story, like, does it work? Does the same way of life work in every scenario? Okay, it's a simulation. We're just here for a bit of fun. I still want to have a family because I find it's awesome. Do I want to build multiple family resorts? That's awesome. Do I want to go to the jump park? We were there last night. I'm trying to learn how to do better flips and spins and all these things. I fucking love that. If that's a simulation, if that's God sent us here to be better version of himself, like in all the frames, I love doing that. Eating good home-cooked food with family who all care about each other, that's awesome. Developing my mind, learning, growing. Do I want to train MMA, play football? Yeah, all like in whatever the scenario, I like them all. Eating the best homegrown quality food you can possibly imagine, I like it much more than eating trash in town that makes me feel like like a spike and a crash.
And you're saying that if the highest, like let's say, story is a religious, you would still have the same experience?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work out is like, regardless of that, could I put that frame on and think it's also what the things I really enjoy now are actually the most moral way of life, because I feel like having a strong, solid family, I enjoy negotiating the family working together because it doesn't always work that way. As some of you know, like some of you don't know, listeners, whatever, is like I moved our extended family into the house because I wanted us to work as a family unit, to have the grandparents and Brigida's brothers and in the house as well, so we all live as an extended family. Also in Ireland right now, we're building a family resort over there. We're moving all the family in there. So we got like we got the great grandparents, we got the grandparents, we got the parents, and we got the great grandchildren all moving into a family unit, and we're building multiple buildings. Now there's sort of like and adding a lot of things to that. So it's like I like that game. I think it's a godly path. I also think it's fucking fun. It's great fun. I think it's like really enjoyable. I enjoy the negotiating, I enjoy the building, the organizing, the housing, the way it's going to work. I enjoy negotiating with people, trying to get them motivated. Come on, can we get aligned with these stories? Can we debate like what's the best way? I enjoy that we have home cooked food and re-engineering. Can we bring in a well? Can we have water pumps? Can we get the best quality food and water? Can we play sports and do things and then get to be with nature and other things? And I find that after a while, if you said to me, I'll give you all the money in the world and you can do anything, this is still what I want to do regardless. If I think God, as in the Bible, created this place, I would still live this way. If I think, okay, we were up on the clouds saying this would just be a fun game, I would live this way because I feel it ticks the boxes of all the things that I actually like.
So I want to make a case, Arian. I'm hearing everything you're saying, and I want to just make a case that I think sometimes we, in our culture, we overestimate the amount of choice we have. I'm just thinking like, how big of a role genetics plays, how big of a role are how we were treated the first 7 years of life, where we usually don't have a lot of choice, the culture we were born into, the foods we happen to eat, the friends we happen to meet or not meet, the things we came across. And then, so even the choices that we're making in this present moment, it's kind of hard actually to call it a choice if you look at it, because it's a set of programming that if you go far enough back, you probably didn't have much choice in it. And I think that's pretty interesting when we speak about like free will. For example, we're all entrepreneurs, which usually is like high testosterone, high drive, attention span is kind of short and intense. And, we probably didn't choose that on a genetic hormonal level. And yet that took us down this weird path. And because we went down that path, we kept like strengthening the very things that we were geared to do, and we started liking it more. And I just find that very interesting, when you look at it like that, like what is choice really? So I'm just kind of piggybacking off everything you're saying makes sense. But even that, did I choose it, or what influences are making me like that or not like that? That is an interesting way of looking at it for me.
This comes to other things I've been thinking about along the same lines, is like, are we actually also our parents and our children at the same time? Are we just playing the ever-evolving game? Because sometimes I've been thinking about, was I my parents and am I my children? So if yes, how would you live? So I think, as you're saying, yeah, it's tons of things that our parents, grandparents, like my granddad almost moved to South Africa. He wanted to go. My grandmother didn't want to go, but if he had went there, my life would be very different. And I'd be in a very different reality, a very different experience, a very different what I value. Also, the other thing John DeMartini used to talk about a lot is like voids build values. If you were poor growing up, you really, really, really value wealth. But I know a lot of people who were very wealthy growing up, but they didn't have love. So they almost reject the wealth and then really embrace the love. They'll live in a little hippie house as long as they're with people they love. And so I get what you're saying, the voids build the values. But I think if we can like almost repair the traumas for a while and almost let go of the programming for a while, we can actually start to unfold like a natural way of life. Like I think there is like a natural way of our people. And this could be also genetic, because again, were you born in the Middle East, Mateo? Okay. I was going to say, well, anyway, it probably it doesn't matter.
Look, and I totally hear you. And I'm just saying, even that, like some people go to heal their traumas and strive for an authentic returning to naturalness, and some don't. And what determines that and what doesn't? It's hard to pinpoint it.
Yeah, I think the thing is, we'll never know. Do we actually have a choice? How much that is? It's just like what can we do with the hand we're played? I got a 2 and a 3 in a game of poker. I don't know how I got here. Could be bullshit.
No, come on, but you're much better at that area.
yeah. But it's like what am I going to do in this situation? What am I going to do with this thing? So it's like, yeah. So and that's really what it's like. I don't know how we got here, but can I just fold? Just give up. Fuck it. Whatever.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah. If you got one leg short and the other, you're destined to walk in circles for your whole life. Whatever. It's just like. But it's one of these things. It's like all we can do is like, how can we craft a life that matches the best version for us? Because again, some people are like, they can sit in a lab all day looking at little bacteria in these petri dishes all day, every day. Fucking love it. They can't get enough of it. Oh, another bacteria. Oh, amazing. That'll keep me going for 6 months. Whereas like other people need, like Alex needs like an infinite buffet. Whereas like I'm pretty chill, having a very simple, I can eat the same thing every single day for the rest of my life. Alex likes to eat everything every day for the rest of his life. When you go, he orders everything on the menu. Wants to, like the first time I think we went to that place, I think it was a Turkish place in Bucharest. It was literally one of every dessert, and it was just like, yeah, bring them all. It's like, interesting. And they just came, bring it all. And that's cool. Like you can live different ways. And it's just like, I think you have to fulfill what's the best way for me. And can I fit that in depending if like say Alex has a finding God moment. Does he have to rip apart everything? Or say a Churchian person, and I ask you these like really strong Churchian people this a lot, is like, what if it turns out Jesus never existed? And it's like, well, then my whole life's been wasted. It's like, oh, that's you're going to hang on to that belief pretty hard then. So it's like, if someone can break your paradigm, can you still be okay? It's like, if somebody breaks my paradigm, it's like, I'm still good. Okay, it was a simulation, you should have just had fun. It's like, I liked it. Alex might not agree a lot of the time. He might look at my life and be like, bro, that's a lot of routine there. It's like, it is. I read stories for I read children's stories like 2 hours a day. Great. I love it. It might drive some people mental, but it's like, but for me, it's just like, it hits my values of what it is. So it's like, if someone breaks your highest level story, will it break what you are, or can you continue? You're like, oh, that's fine. No worries.
It's similar to what Mateo was talking about, this equanimity. I think you can still be equanimous, if that's a word, including to this concepts and stories. And whenever somebody breaks your paradigm, you can still be equanimous and be like, I was thinking differently about this. Mateo, it's time, or if we want.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce, guys. Lovely to chat. See you next week.
Great to see you. Have a good one. Catch you later.
Ciao, bye. Do you want to wrap this up, Davido, or should we? Yeah. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys, for another episode. And this is just random stuff we're talking about. If you like this, let us know. If you want more structure, let us know. And maybe we can find a way for you guys to also join the conversation. So if you are suggesting some topics we should focus on, let us know. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you all.
Ciao.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.